It's after 8, Howard and Tony at breakfast on BBC, Hereford and Worcester. Now, if you're a parent or a grandparent, if that joy of what the new baby comes into the world, it is just absolutely amazing. And if you've shared that moment, you know exactly what we're talking about. But this is every parent's worst nightmare. When a Malvern man's son was born just a year ago, he was perfectly healthy, a little baby boy. Now he's blind, he's deaf, and has severe cerebral palsy, and he's locked inside his body. Michael Kernicterus says it's down to a student midwife who visited his son at home the day after he was born, but failed to pick up that he'd developed jaundice, which should have led to an immediate referral. That decision left his son, Vasili, brain damaged. Michael, thank you for coming in to talk to us. I really appreciate this.
You're welcome.
I'm sure it's not an easy story to tell.
Yeah.
Do you mind just rewinding back to the day your little boy was born?
He was born healthy, quite a simple. I say simple, it's not for men, but I guess it is for men, but not for women. Pregnancy, straightforward. They said my wife could be discharged pretty soon after the birth, but my wife asked to stay in, and she relaxed a few more hours, and we got discharged later on at night. But my son was fine. Early hours of the morning, we noticed there was jaundice on the face, and cut long story short, we knew the midwife was coming to visit us. A mature midwife came to visit us. Little did we know she wasn't qualified, she was a student. And little did we know that students were allowed out on their own, unaccompanied by a senior midwife or mentor. We threw all the questions at the midwife, the student midwife, including all the family that came to celebrate the new birth of my son. So it was constant reassurance that it's fine, put him in the sunlight. Unfortunately, that's the same news that many parents that get affected by this are being given, and it's wrong news. Because
you might just need to explain why put a baby in the sunlight. I mean, I'm a dad. I've never come across that one before, Michael.
Yeah, well, I mean, it works in the same sense as phototherapy, but it's so inadequate. It's stupid advice, in my opinion. The sunlight actually helps lower the jaundice, the bilirubin levels. It helps disperse through the skin. Don't know how it exactly quite works, but that's what they say. That's why they do phototherapy. If my son was treated by the NICE guidelines, which were co-written by a lady called Janet Rennie, who I think is a lady of integrity, his brain damage would have been completely prevented. He was completely healthy. We found out later he had the most common enzyme deficiency in the world called G6PD deficiency, which 400 million people in the world have. And there's probably the same amount that don't even know they've got it. And my wife was one of them. And it could have been a small infection. It could have been ABO, blood incompatibility. It could have been anything that caused the jaundice. But what caused the kernicterus, the brain damage, was negligence. So the non-acting on something was going wrong with my son. The actual G6PD is the most common enzyme deficiency in the world that affects the Mediterranean and Eastern Bloc, similar to thalassemia and sickle cell. And it's almost been seen as an evolutionary progression of man to stop malaria infecting people in these countries from the Eastern Bloc, whether it be Asian.
It's a basic mistake which any midwife would have picked up on. It's an absolute given, isn't it?
Well, apparently. But what's scary, talking to my solicitor, that there's senior midwives making similar mistakes, and kernicterus was, is seen as a never event. Kernicterus, in theory, could only happen through malpractice. It does not happen. The brain gets poisoned, and there's no other way of that. The kernicterus can occur, as far as I'm aware.
Can we talk about the sort of the medical negligence side of it in a moment? And indeed, we might come back to you in a moment, Michael, because it's been one of those mornings. I know you've been sitting waiting to come on with the breaking news. But let's just deal with your little boy for the moment, Vasili.
Yeah.
He's a year old.
Yeah.
Within hours, this obviously the jaundice went from bad to worse.
Yeah.
And just tell us what happened to him and how he's ended up now, and where we go from here with him.
Well, all we can do is love him. There's not much we can do apart from spread awareness. The negligence side of it, doesn't mean massive amounts to me. And my son's lost, his future's lost. Our family's disabled, let alone my son. Simple things like sleeping at night. If you get an hour of sleep, you might be lucky. Today I had 2 hours. And I do 15-hour shifts, It's hard life. But my son, he feels the pain with his quadriplegic cerebral palsy. And he's blind and he's deaf. How can one learn,
And he's not the only child that you have, is he?
No, we've got a 4-year-old daughter who's been massively impacted. So much so that they instructed a play specialist to sort of help her get her feelings out. She wrote a story about a prince and it kissed the frog, and they had a baby, and this baby, I guess I'm the frog, by the way, and they had a baby, and this baby was born ill, and they went to a big hospital, and they made the baby better with injections. I wish it was that simple, but sadly, and she's drawn all this out. It doesn't stop there. Even counselling took 9 months, for my wife and I to get counselling. It's bad enough. My wife's father took an overdose for mental illness, and it was in her notes. We put, after Ellie's birth, our first daughter, we didn't want students on the next one, so they sent the student midwife out to us. It's just the dots aren't connected. I love the NHS. It's a good institution. There's a lot of good in there, but sadly, there's some silly mistakes that are ruining lives and costing stupid amounts of money. It's just ridiculous. I'm just thankful in a small part that he lives. As hard as it is, we love him to bits, and that's all we can do is just do the best we can for him.
Michael, what I want to do is we want to talk to you about your dealings with the hospital and obviously where we go now and what sort of life Vasili can expect, because this is a story that I know is going to really touch a lot of people. So would you mind staying with us? I know you've not had a lot of kip. If you want to,
no, that's fine. I'm used to it.
Sort this man out of coffee quickly.
I don't even drink it.
Can I suggest you start taking on caffeine?
I think I will actually. Yeah.
Michael, stick with us because there's more we want to hear from you. Really appreciate you coming in. Thank you. Worcestershire Acute Hospital's NHS Trust say they conducted a thorough investigation into his care. We've reviewed our processes and have now improved an improved system in place which ensures that no student midwife can make home visits on their own unless their supervisor is confident they are fully competent. As I say, we'll talk more to Michael if in the next 15-20 minutes or so. 8:25 is the time. An Asian restaurant owner from Worcester says Nigel Farage won him over after the UKIP leader visited